Hey, how's it going? And I'm very excited to bring you this tutorial today on getting into Megascans. This is absolutely an amazing asset. Unfortunately, there's quite a bit of setup involved with getting started with it, so I've tried to distill this down into the basic steps as much as possible, and so I appreciate you sticking with me on this. But I think if you stay till the end, you're really going to have an appreciation for what this is going to do for you, because it allows you basically to add very realistic texturing onto a blank slate and create your own worlds. So I'm just going to start by, I'm in a blank project right now, and I'm assuming one thing is that you already have what's called the Quixel bridge downloaded and installed. It's this thing right here. So there's some videos out there already, so I'm assuming you've got that already set up. That's the least of your troubles, to be honest with you. So anyway, we're going to start this by going into new level, and there's an empty level here, and we're just going to go create. And we're starting from scratch. You know, this is kind of how the world works, right? And so I'm just going to go ahead and save this level, current level. I'll just call this Quixel and save it. And you'll notice when we come into a blank level, we see this green thing. You may not even see it right now. I seem to be really discombobulated here. There it is. So the one thing we're going to do is we're going to go into, before we even get started on this empty level, there you'll see this green grid thing. We just need a few things. So we're just going to get the directional light, bring that in. Then we're going to get the skylight and bring that in. And this is for basically shadows. And then the sky atmosphere, we bring this in. And then we just need the fog. So we need these four things basically to light our environment. And there you go. You can see our world there. Okay. And just for fun, if we click on the directional light and you hit Control L and click, we can set the time of day right now. So if we want to make it a little more dramatic lighting, we can just make it maybe a little darker like that. And there we go. And I'm right clicking to just look around in that environment. So pull in these four things and you're good to go. Okay. And then all we have to do is we're going to go into landscape mode here. And I'm going to get, you can only see this from one side. So get on the top side of this thing, this green thing. You want to be on the top side of it. And then what we're going to do, we can go with just the default settings here. I'm not going to sculpt the terrain. That's a whole nother thing. This is just going to be flat. So I'm just leaving these default settings are fine. So we're just going to go ahead and create. And there is our landscape that we're going to texture now. Now, this was frustrating to me, this thing here. It's basically like your sculpt brush, and we don't really want that. But see the brush size over here? Just take it down to 1, just because it's kind of annoying. But we'll mostly be on the paint. We're not going to be on the sculpt. I think there's one other thing. Come over here on landscape here. Make sure you're on all. And let's search for something called edit. And you're not really going to need this, but I just like it to be there to show you that you're basically working in layers. If you're familiar with Photoshop, what we're going to do is we're going to have different textures on layers, and we can kind of blend them. We're going to blend them together. So we're going to have 2 layers. We're going to keep it simple. And right now we don't have really anything going on right here. So that's our edit layers, but it's just nice to have it on there because you might see other tutorials where it's there. And so it's better to have it there and not need it than to need it and not know where it is. Okay, so now we're going to go out of landscape mode for now. And you can't do anything else while you're in landscape mode. You're kind of locked in it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to, let me just click on this and hit Control S to save that. And let's now go into our bridge, and let's go ahead and go to surfaces here. Get whatever you want in here. I'm just going to get some grass. I'll get something I haven't downloaded yet. So you'll see this green arrow and you just click it and it just takes a second. This is mind-boggling. I understood there's like 16,000 textures on here. And then once it's downloaded, you'll see this green check, and then to add it to your project, you just click that. So now it's in, and it's going to be under Megascan surfaces and then under its name. And now we're going to go back into the bridge, and I just want to pick another surface that's going to kind of contrast with that. So doesn't really matter. Let's just do asphalt. I don't know. I'll just do this one. I haven't done this one, damaged asphalt. And I didn't even know how well it's going to match. And you can just have it on medium quality. And then you can click add here or click add here. And now we've got our 2 textures. And then that's all we need. So now I'm just going to go up into this folder, surfaces, just so I'm not so crowded with everything. And I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to create a new material, and we'll call this master material. And this is kind of like a template from which we can create instances, copies of this for our use in our landscape. So once you create a master, you can create copies of it to use on your landscapes. So anyway, I'm just going to call this Quixel, I guess. And then once that's done, I can hit Control S, which are Control S to save. It's a good idea, I think, to save things as you go along. And now we're going to double click into it, but we're not going to dock this. And what we're going to do is, this is the easiest way I've found to get these textures in, is we're going to click on this folder here. We're just going to take these 3 textures, hit Shift to select them all, or hit Control, I guess. Hit the first one, hit Shift, and then just drag them on, and they'll all come in together. And then clicking on this graph area, you can right click and scoot it up a little bit. Or so you give yourself a little bit more room than there. And then go into the next one and do the same thing. Hit Shift, select those 3, and drag these in. And don't forget what they are. This one is the grass. Okay? And then once that's done, we can just make this full size. Well, not full size. Let's just go ahead and dock it right there. Okay? Now let's just come in here and let's just get going here. This is the part it's kind of a pain to set this up, but once you get this set up, you'll do it a couple times, it'll start making sense. And again, like everything else, you'll start wondering, why did this take you so long to figure out? So here we go. Those are those 3. And that's the asphalt, right? So I'm going to left click and drag and select them all. Then I'm going to hit C, and then I'll just say asphalt, so I know what it is. And they all drag together. And then I'll do the same thing for these next 3 down here. I'm going to click on this one, just straighten them up. Just a little bit nice and neat. Left click, select them all, hit C on the keyboard, and we'll call this grass. And this is just for our own. You don't have to do that, it just helps keep things organized. Now the next thing we're going to do, we're going to try to copy and paste as much as possible. So now these are all UV tiled. So what that means is that they're in squares like this. And when you landscape an area, you can adjust the size of the tiling. Otherwise you're going to see these tiles and it's going to make the landscape look weird. So what we're going to do is we're going to give ourselves control over the ability to scale the tiles so we don't see the tiles, if that makes sense. So hopefully this will make more sense. So we're basically right now we're going to create a control to control the size of these tiles on our landscape. So I'm going to right click here and I got to look for something called landscape coordinates, and this basically controls the size of our UV tiles, our tiles. UV is just like XY, it's just another way of saying XY, because they're 2D. And then then I can right click and go to multiply right here. And then if you click right on the B here, what we're going to do, just make sure you're on that B, you'll have the option to promote to a parameter. And basically this is what will give us the ability to control. We're creating like an interface. So for this one, we're going to call this asphalt, and it has a default value. We're going to give it a 1 to start with. Because the UV coordinates are from 0.0 to 1, so it's all decimals from 0.01 to 0.99. They're not like integers. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to plug this into this, and then we're going to copy this, Control C, come down here and go Control V, Control V, and click on this one, and we're going to name this one, where is it? Oh, no, I'm sorry, it's this one. We're going to name this one grass, and that's that. So now what we have to do is plug this in to all 3 of these things. So we can plug it in there, plug it in there, plug it in there, and then we'll do the same thing down here. And like I said, this is what will allow us to control our tiling. And you'll see where that becomes a problem in a minute here. We're about halfway done, I think. A little bit more, maybe almost halfway done. So now what we have to do is we have to do what's called make our attributes. So we're going to go make material attributes. So it's kind of like we're going to spread these out and then collapse them and then spread them back out again. So we want this one here. Now this is a trick, and I've seen some tutorials where people get confused on this, and I understand. This is all, if new to texturing, it can be very confusing in the beginning. So this is RGB is just our base color. So just think of that as our color. This basically conveys light information of how the light is hitting. You could think of it as a three-dimensional pixel, and it's just storing the light information, so it creates a shadowing effect, so that it makes it look like a 2D texture look like a 3D texture. And so that goes into our normal map. And here's the tricky one. This one actually has 3 separate masks in it, channels in it, which is tricky, and it's good to Epic Games for figuring this one out. So think of this one as 3 maps in one, 3 samples in one. And the R channel is actually ambient occlusion, which is more shadowing. And the B channel is the blue channel. Oh, I'm sorry. The green channel, is roughness. I think actually they should have made the roughness channel R, so it'd be easier to remember. So I don't know if anybody's listening to me, but trust me on this one. The third channel is displacement, and we're not using that. So now we're going to Control C and Control V here. Whoops, Control V. And then we're going to just do the same thing here. So remember, RGB on this one, the color goes in there. This funny blue one goes into the normal map. The R, this is 3 maps in one. The R is ambient occlusion, which is like more shadowing. And then the G is the roughness. This whole thing is not roughness. Okay? Now once we got that done, see what I mean? It's kind of involved, right? You thought you could just start having fun. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put these layers together. So I think we want to go layer, blend. Is it layer blend? Oh, don't tell me. Blend. Where is it? Oh, landscape blend. Everything's landscape. So it's landscape layer blend. And so that's where I'm saying we kind of separate everything out. And now if we come in here, this is an interesting node. It's kind of confusing. We got to come over here and create the inputs for this. This has no inputs, so we're going to create the inputs over here. And we're going to click this plus sign twice, and we're creating 2 inputs. First input is index 01, and we're going to just call this asphalt. And then the second index, we're going to call this our grass. And you'll see once we save this, apply and save, you'll see that it has our 2 inputs here. Now we can just go ahead and plug this one into here and this one into here. Now that we've collapsed them down, so we're basically creating our layers here with these 4 textures going into it. Now we got to plug them all back in. So we got to actually click and go break. It's kind of crazy in a way. So now we're going to plug this into here. And now we're just going to turn around and hook all this up again. So it's like we collapsed them down into layers, and now we're breaking them back out. So the base goes into the base. The roughness goes into the roughness. The normal goes into the normal. And ambient occlusion goes into ambient occlusion. And we go apply. And we go save. And as far as I know, that's it. If you made it this far, good for you, man. I mean, this part is kind of a headache. So anyway, we're done with all this. And I'm just doing 2 layers, so it's time consuming. So now we can pop back over here and go back into our surface here. Now all we have to do, we're on the home stretch. We really are on the home stretch. I'm going to click on the landscape up here in the world outliner. And then when I do, if I scroll down, there should be this option here for landscape material. Now think of this master material as a blueprint or a class, and now we're going to make instances of it. Or it's like a parent and we're going to make children, or it's a template and we're going to make copies. We can't really work with the master material directly, so we have to right click it and go create material instance. And we can work with this one. So I'm going to hit Control S just to click on it, hit Control S, and now we just drag this over into here. And then once we do, you'll see this weirdness occur here on the main surface, but that means we're actually on the right path. So all we have to do now is kind of hook up our layers, and we can start painting, and you can start experimenting and seeing how this goes. So I would say we're 75% done right now. So let's just go into landscape mode here, and be on the paint tab here, and you'll see here where it says this layer has no information yet assigned to it. That's what we have to take care of. And here's our 2 layers that we created already back in the material. So all we have to do here, this is really simple. You hit that plus sign, go to weight blended layer. It can be shared right there. You go save, and it's done. And then do the same thing for this one. Click there, blended, save. We hit Control S, we save this, and Control S and save this. And now look, if we click on this, you'll notice that error goes away. Now what you should notice is we're good to go. So if we're going to look, if I scroll down, it's going to show, it's apparently showing our top layer. I'm hitting the right mouse button, whoops, go in here, and I'm going down to the surface now. I'm scrolling down. Now you remember what we talked about, the tiling? See how that looks? That's all the UV tiles that we created. And I'm not even sure what this one is. What is that? Get down and really look at it here. This looks to be, I'm not even sure what that is. I guess that's our asphalt or something. But you see how tiled it looks? So what we have to do here is on our, go back into our surface here, and on our material instance, we're going to click this, and we're going to undock it. And we're going to click back here. We have to juggle our windows around. Here's our 2 parameters that we set up. Now, I'm not even sure what's what right now. Hold on. Our brush size is really small. Okay. Where is our brush? It's really small. Oh, there it is, see. So let's just keep it right about there. I don't want to paint anything yet, so hold on. So let's just play around with, see if we can scale these down. Remember now, if that's the one, see how as I'm scaling it down, you see the tiles getting bigger? And then we see less and less of them like that. So it may have to be something, let me zoom out. You can see the tiles still. So let's just keep going out here. We may have to really scale it down. I don't know, I'll just enter a number 0.01. Let's see what that does. See, so you just have to play around with this value till the tiling goes away to your liking. Let's try 0.1. You still see it at 0.1. So we really have to scale on this environment. You're still seeing the tiling. So it looks like maybe 0.05. Let's see what that does. Still seeing it. 0.0. I don't think we want to go negative. So at this level, it's pretty big, but at least you're not seeing it so obviously, right? And then if we want to paint, all we have to do is come in here and go on our brush, and then you just click on the layer that you want to paint with. So let's say I want to start painting some grass in. I can adjust my brush size. It's a pretty small brush compared to this, and I can start painting. Is that grass? But see how tiled it is? Do you see the tiling? And let me get in on that grass. So let me drop my brush size here. So let me really zoom in here. Oh, that's our grass, I guess, huh? We got to hit play, I think, to really appreciate the grass there. But on our tiling, let's hit play and see what it looks like. It's like a new day dawning. It almost looks like crops. You know, it's because I have the lighting. So if I want to get rid of that tiling again, right? Let me hit escape. That could work if it was like a farm field or something. I can click on here, and again, probably want to really bring this down to get rid of the tiling. Now there's other ways to adjust this with adding a procedural on there, but you kind of hopefully get the idea of how you can start playing around with these textures. So there is a way to mix in noise to hide these tiles, but scaling would be probably the #1 way to hide the tiling part of it. So anyway, I just wanted to get you started on these Megascans. They're absolutely mind-boggling amazing, and I hope to do a couple other tutorials on this just to show you how you can really create some out of this world stuff. So anyway, thanks again and take care, and I'll talk to you next time.